All right, folks, again, thank you for coming. My name is William Dark, your town moderator. We're going to get started. We're all aware of the fact there are a lot of people outside waiting to come in. We got some stuff that kind of needs to happen, some housekeeping stuff anyway to begin with. So instead of waiting the whole time, we'll just get going. Before we do that, I'd like everyone to stand just for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty, justice for all. All right, thank you. So, again, a lot of people here. Can you hear me okay? Yeah, okay, thank you. As we get going and as this room gets fuller, if there are too many people in here, we are set up to go next door, to have people sit or stand next door. The mics all work next door so they can hear. And what we're going to need to do, and I think we'll just do it now before we even start, is to appoint a deputy moderator. That person will be in communication with me via walkie-talkie. We'll make sure that everything is going smoothly. If we don't need that person, then we will just forget about it. But do we have any volunteers? Somebody that always wanted to be moderator, now's your chance. Any takers? All we need is one lucky person. Come on. Do we have some? You don't have to go anywhere yet. Okay.
Yeah, do it.
Okay. All right, but for the record, just stand up and state your name, that you want to do this, that you're not... Okay, thank you. All right, we're going to point you, Denise. Okay, thank you. When we get to that point, we'll let you know what you need to do.
What was her name? Denise Valeri.
And again, as we get going, we appreciate people being respectful of one another. Just because we have a large crowd doesn't mean it needs to be unruly. I've always thought that it's okay to disagree with somebody. It's how you disagree. So we're all here to speak our minds. And having said that, too, I've never been the type of person, I don't have any timekeeper here that's going to limit people speaking. As long as you're saying something that's new, it's okay. What I don't want to have is people saying the same thing. If you agree with somebody, that's great. You don't have to tell us that you agree with them, okay? You can do that by your vote. So that's, again, just to kind of keep things moving. Another one of my kind of pet peeves, and we've been pretty good the last few years, is just no negative motions. Even if somebody is against something, I prefer that the motion be favorable because it just makes it easier to vote yes or no. And if somebody is against it, certainly we give them every opportunity to speak against it. So other than that, I just want to take a moment to recognize our town clerk, Ann Brody. Ann is going to be retiring after 12 years. As we all know, sometimes town government isn't easy, so I think it's great whenever anybody wants to step forward and do the job. So again, thank you, Ann. Having said that, Ann, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay. Special town meeting Monday, April 29th, 2019. To Jeffrey T. Gillen, Chief of Police in the town of Groveland in the county of Essex. Greeting. In the name of the Commonwealth, you are hereby required to notify and warn the inhabitants of all said town who are qualified to vote in the annual town meeting to meet, I should say special there, at the Bagnell School, 253 School Street, Groveland, Mass., on Monday, April 29th, 2019, 7 p.m., to act upon or take any other action relative thereto on the following articles.
Okay, Article 1. See if the town will vote to make the following transfers or take any other action relative thereto. On the left-hand column, you can see all the transfers from. On the right-hand side, you can see the transfers to. It's a total of $50,150 that's being transferred from one side to the other. I will give you a moment to take a peek at those, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so the Board of Selectmen recommends favorable action. The Finance Board recommends favorable action. Do we have a motion?
Move favorable.
Need a second also? Was there a second? Okay, motion and second. Any discussion? All right, seeing none, we'll take a vote. All in favor of Article 1, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. It is unanimous. That's the only one, huh?
That's it. You want a motion to adjourn?
What's that? Yeah, so we need a motion to dissolve special town meeting. A second. All in favor of dissolving special town meeting, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Again, I turn it over to our town clerk.
Okay. Town meeting, Monday, April 29th, 2019. Our town election is Monday, May 6th, 2019. To Jeffrey T. Gillen, Chief of Police in the town of Groveland in the county of Essex. In the name of the Commonwealth, you are hereby notified to, 1, the inhabitants of said town who are qualified to vote in the annual town meeting to meet at the Dr. Elmer S. Bagnell School, 253 School Street, Groveland, Mass. On Monday, April 29th, 2019 at 7:05 p.m. to act upon or take any other action relative thereto on the following articles.
Okay, Article 1. To see if the town will vote to authorize the selectmen to petition the state for any sum available in the provisions of Chapter 90, said funds to be apportioned and expended by and under the direction of the State Department of Public Works, Mass Highway Department, in accordance with said statutes, or take any other action relative thereto. Article is submitted by the Board of Selectmen. The Board of Selectmen recommend favorable action. Finance Board recommends favorable action. Do we have a motion and a second?
Yes, we move with favorable action.
Second. Somebody second? Okay, yeah, just jump right in there. Any discussion? Okay, we'll take a vote. All in favor of Article 1, say aye. Opposed, say no. It's unanimous. Article 2, to see if the town will vote to transfer from available funds the amount of $210,998 and appropriate said sum for Chapter 90 approved road work, said amount to be used pending reimbursement by the state, with such work to be done under the supervision of the road commissioner or take any other action relative thereto. Article submitted by Board of Selectmen. Board of Selectmen recommends favorable action. The Finance Board recommends favorable action. We have a motion and a second.
Move favorable.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, we'll take a vote. All in favor of Article 2, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. It's unanimous. Article 3, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $900 for the purpose of providing this amount to the William R. Dewhurst Jr. Post 7366, Veterans of the United States, Groveland, Mass. to pay for heat, electricity, and maintaining its meeting place and any expenses to support this request in fiscal 2020 or take any other action relative thereto. Article submitted by the Board of Selectmen. It says, note, authorization for this appropriation is provided in Mass General Laws, Chapter 40, Section 9. The Board of Selectmen recommends favorable action. The Finance Board recommends favorable action. Do we have a motion and a second?
Move favorable action.
All right. Motion and second. Any
Second.
discussion? Okay, we'll take a vote. All in favor of Article 3, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. It's unanimous. Article 4, to see if the town will vote to accept the provisions of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 39, Section 23D, for boards, committees, or commissions holding adjudicatory hearings in the town, which section provides that a member of a public body, when holding an adjudicatory, shall not be disqualified from voting in the matter solely due to that member's absence from no more than one session of the hearing at which testimony or other evidence is received, provided that certain additional conditions as established by said statute are met or take any other action relative thereto. It says the article was submitted by the town planner. Note, the full text of Mass General Laws, Chapter 39, Section 23D can be found in Appendix C. The Board of Selectmen recommends favorable action. Does the Finance Committee, was there a recommendation on that?
It's not a financial
Okay, thank you.
article.
Do we have a motion and a second?
Move favorable.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? No? Okay. All in favor of Article 4, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. It's unanimous. Article 5, to see if the town vote to accept the provisions of Mass General Laws, Chapter 59, Section 57A, in its present form and as subsequently amended, which statute provides that notice of preliminary tax or actual tax bill for real estate or personal property taxes in an amount not in excess of $100 shall be due and payable in one installment, and if unpaid after the day of the first installment of the notice of preliminary tax, same rate, and the preliminary tax or actual tax over the tax year is due shall be subject to interest at the same rate and from the same date as any delinquent preliminary or actual tax first installment, or take any other action relative thereto. Article submitted by the Board of Assessors. Again, full text can be found in Appendix C. The Board of Selectmen recommends favorable action. The Finance Board recommends favorable action. Do we have a motion and a second?
Move with favorable action.
Second.
Okay, motion is second. Any discussion? Okay, we'll take a vote. All in favor of Article 5, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. It's unanimous. Article 6, to see if the town will vote to accept the provisions of Mass General Laws, Chapter 59, Section 5, Clause 54, exempting personal property from taxation if less than an amount not in excess of $10,000 as established by a town meeting, and further by establishing such minimum value of personal property subject to taxation as $5,000 beginning in FY20, or take any other action relative thereto. Article submitted by the Board of Assessors. The room is what? Okay, we're going to pause for just a second. So we're going to start having people go next door. And what we're going to do is we're going to have our deputy moderator, Denise, thank you, head next door. Actually, come up here for a second. So,
So there's a table and some chairs set up. We just have the bleachers open, but there are chairs on the side if you need more.
So, if there's any issues, we can let you know. What we're going to do is people, if they want to speak, we're going to ask them to come over here anyway and use one of the mics. Okay? Okay, so we were in the middle of talking about Article 6, and I'm sorry, I didn't write down. Did we had the motion in the second already? No. Okay. No. Okay. All right. Let me just start reading Article 6 again. Article 6. See if the town will vote to accept the provisions of Mass General Laws, Chapter 59, Section 5, Clause 54, exempting personal property from taxation if less than an amount not in excess of $10,000 as established by town meeting, and further by establishing such minimum value of personal property subject to taxation as $5,000 beginning in FY20, or take any other action relative thereto. Again, the text in Appendix C, the Board of Selectmen recommends favorable action. The Finance Board recommends favorable action. Do we have a motion and a second?
Move favorable.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Go ahead. Can we get someone to explain this? Is
So this would allow the town to exempt personal property tax under a value of $5,000. So it's minimal tax bills that we're sending out for $1.25, even less than that sometimes, 65 cents for a tax bill. It just allows us to waive those minimal personal properties.
any other discussion? Okay, all in favor of Article 6, say aye. Opposed, say no. Unanimous. Okay, Article 7. To see if the town will vote in accordance with the provisions of General Laws, Chapter 41, Section 1B, to change the position of town clerk from elected to appointed, provided, however, that such change shall not take effect unless it is approved by the voters at the 2020 annual town election, or take any other action relative thereto. Says submitted by Board of Selectmen. Says, note, if approved by town meeting, this will appear as a ballot question on the May 4th, 2020, next year, annual town election ballot. The Board of Selectmen recommends, it was favorable, right? Yes. Favorable action. The Finance Board recommends favorable action. Do we have a motion and a second?
Move favorable.
Okay, discussion. Okay.
So there's folks in there now, and they're allowed to vote on this too.
Okay.
So you'll take a vote here, and you'll ask Denise to have a vote there, and let me know what the vote is. Then you announce it.
So she's just gonna, again, whether it's unanimous or not, and she's gonna announce it to me over this.
Yeah, let me.
Hang on just a second.
It's on. Push the line. Okay. Denise, can you hear me? From this point on, folks in your room are going to be voting on each article as well.
All right, I'll make them aware of that, and wanted to hear them.
Okay, be sure and let us know if you can't hear. And then as the moderator says, do we have any questions? Have the folks in your room raise their hand and stand up. And if they have a question and wish to be heard, they can come into this room. If not, when the moderator says we're going to vote, tell your folks that they're going to vote, and they can raise their hand and they can also have on the moderator.
Okay, sounds good. What article we're on right now?
7.
We're on 7 right now.
Okay, thank you. So we're Article 7. We had a motion and a second for favorable action. Any discussion?
Mr.
And
Moderator,
if there's discussion, okay. Just again, state your name before you speak, please.
yes, sir. My name is Deborah Young. I live at 106 Center Street. This is really a bad vote. I want to tell you that we have 39 cities in this state, 300 and maybe 21. Out of that 321, we only have 132 small towns. Our small towns are dying. The one thing you people all love is we are a small town. Anytime the government in your town wants to take the right of the vote of anybody, they want to take the right of the vote away from the town clerk, or they want to take the right for you to vote in your tree warden. Every time they take the right to vote, you lose your right. They also discussed having town manager. Well, town manager position between $160,000 to $200,000. That person is in charge of everybody in this town, all the workers, and basically you may have just
Can we
three
just
selectmen.
stick to the subject
Yes,
at
I'm
hand, though?
sorry.
Thank you.
And then basically they're in charge. So the people that you want to appoint to be in charge where you have a voice is going to be gone. So you do not want to vote for this. You lose your voice when you vote for appointed position. Thank you very much.
Any other discussion? You can, yeah. Up here.
So, can everyone hear me all right if I hold it out this far? Good. Thank you. I just wanted to explain from the Finance Board's point of view that we looked at the salary level of this position at $60,000. It's on par with the library director, the manager of the Council on Aging, a management of an office level salary. And we felt that it had grown to the point where if we could have it appointed, we could have more continuity, and you would have a say. You would be able to go to the Board of Selectmen and say whether or not you were pleased with the service being provided. The other thing is we also want to make sure you understand we are not at all interfering or taking any sides in the current election. Whoever wins the election would serve out their entire term. Certainly they'd have their foot in the door because they would be getting trained. And then at that point, if this passes the ballot a year from now, which is another step, then and only then at the end of the term would a new person be appointed, if at all appointed. It might be the incumbent is just continuing on. Thank you.
Further discussion?
Bill,
Yep, go ahead.
this is this has come up for a vote in the past, and it was turned down. It was kept to keep it an elected position. This is one of the most important offices in the town hall, probably the busiest office, and it may, if it becomes an appointed position, and one of the reasons that they're saying, well, might be easier to replace the town clerk if the town clerk wasn't doing their job. Well, it may take longer than 3 years because it's up to a vote of a majority of the Board of Selectmen after they find out that the town clerk is not doing their job. You may have to replace people on the Board of Selectmen before you can replace the town clerk if the person's not doing the job. The way it stands right now, if it's an elected position and the person's not performing their job, they can be replaced in 3 years. So you never want to give up your right to vote. And this is, I'll put the trust in the people that they elect the right person as the town clerk. I can remember the last 3 town clerks we've had have been fantastic. They were all voted. And I'd like to see it stay that way and not silence the voters. And basically, if it becomes an appointed position, it's up to the 5-member Board of Selectmen to make that appointment. And I would rather see it stay as an elected position up to the voters of the town of Groveland. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Oh, go ahead.
So I'm an opponent for the appointed position, and I will say why. We just hired a road commissioner. The road commissioner was interviewed through our personnel director. He then was narrowed to 3 people. We brought the guy out. We as a board interviewed him, and we come up with the best choice. In Groveland, and I'm not saying Groveland is this, but it could be a popularity contest. The most popular person in Groveland could win that seat, and we have no say what goes on. This position is an important position, like someone just said, and this position should have all the schooling, all the criteria, the computers and everything behind them the day they go in there, and Ann will help them get transferred over. We can't wait. We need to get up and get going. The town of Groveland is a very busy town now, and it's not a situation where we can be training or waiting for training to happen. So I say I'm very much for appointed position. I think the person needs to put their feet down and get running. I understand it's elected right now, and in a year we're going to be able to possibly have that person appointed or whatever, but it's a very important position, and we need the right person in there.
Any further discussion? And just people up here, we make sure we say who we are too, because they don't know next door. So just state who you are before you speak.
Absolutely. Bill O'Neill, 45 Elm Park. One of the main reasons why I'm in favor of this is the simple word accountability. Accountability is immediate. When you, the taxpayer, the citizens, don't get what you need, accountability can be sought through this board, whoever this board is, and immediate action can be taken. The simple fact that it's elected right now renders this board absolutely powerless with whatever happens. If you're not happy, you have to wait 1,095 days, or 96 in a leap year, to affect any change. That's not accountability. Accountability means when you have a problem, you want it taken care of. And we understand that. That's mainly the reason why we have an appointed road commissioner now as opposed to an elected one. Now when your streets aren't plowed, when your potholes aren't filled, that elected person can't tell us they're too busy or whatever and just ignore this board. There's immediate accountability. I can assure you, the folks on this board, if your new road commissioner would ever come to this board and tell them he's too busy to meet with us, he won't be busy much longer. At least he won't be busy in this town. And I think that's what the folks want. I think that's what you deserve. You pay a lot of money for that position, and I think you deserve accountability that's immediate, that's effective, and that's guaranteed 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and 365 days a year with no exceptions.
Any further discussion? Okay, we're going to take a vote. And Denise, I know you can hear me. This is how we're going to do it. We're going to take the vote in here first, and then we're going to take the vote here. So in the cafeteria here now, all in favor of Article 7, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Okay, we're going to try that one more time, and then we're going to go next. All in favor of Article 7, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. No. That, to me, is going to be too close to call, even though I think it's a no. I can't, unless I'm sure, call it. So what we're going to do, we're not even going to vote next door yet. We're going to take a hand count. So what we need is we need 2 people here, and then we need somebody next door, right? Probably 2 people there to count. So what we're going to do in both rooms at this time, I'm sorry, we need our counters first. So we need, we got 1. We need 3 more. It's 2. We need 2 more. Is there anyone, Denise? Okay, next door. And then we need 1 more person to go next door. I think.
People walking in here. I'm not sure what I'm waiting for.
Okay, we're getting ready to vote on Article number 7. Okay. Denise. Okay. Okay, so all in favor of Article 7, please raise your hand and keep it up until it is counted. Thank you.
Oh, no, there's way more people in here that are no.
Okay, all right. So 27. My bad. Okay, all against. I'm sorry. Okay, just finish counting the yeses up here. You got it? Okay. Okay, so there's 90. Yep. Okay, all those opposed to Article 7, please raise your hand and keep it up until you're counted. Yeah, no, but you know, if I.
I'm sorry, 56 no's in here.
Thank you. 56. Okay, folks, the vote has been tallied. It's 170 in favor, 250 against, so it does not pass.
There were some happy people over here.
Okay, we're going to carry on. Article 8, to see if the town will vote to accept as a public way Sunset Circle as laid out by the Board of Selectmen as shown on the plan entitled Roadway Acceptance Plan Sunset Circle, prepared for Wallace Capital LLC by GA Consultants, dated January 30, 2019, which plan is on record at the Essex County South Registry of Deeds in Plan Book 470, Plan 70 is on file in the office of the town clerk, and to authorize the Board of Selectmen to acquire by gift, purchase, and/or eminent domain such interests in land as are necessary to provide for the use and maintenance of said way for all purposes for which public ways are used in the town of Groveland, or take any other action relative thereto. Article was submitted by the Planning Board. The Board of Selectmen recommends favorable action. Do we have a motion and a second?
Move favorable.
Second, somebody?
Second.
All right, a motion and a second. Any discussion? Yep. If you could stand up to the mic so that people can hear next door, and again, state your name before you speak.
Hi, folks. Mark Debitetto, Baldwin Terrace. Where is Sunset Circle? What is it?
Okay.
It's a three-home subdivision off of Salem Street, not too
Three-home
far.
subdivision? Okay. And it says here that the town,
Okay.
we're to authorize the town, the Board of Selectmen, to acquire by gift, purchase, and/or eminent domain. I'm just curious as why would we want to purchase it if we're going to be responsible? What would we be purchasing if we're going to be responsible for taking care of this developer's new property?
We're not purchasing anything. It's strictly for utilities.
But it's in there. That's the only thing that makes me nervous.
But there's no purchase.
Further discussion? Okay. Can somebody, what's the specific question?
There is no purchase. It's just a statutory language.
Can we make an amendment to scratch out purchase?
Robert Danforth, 293 Center Street. I'm on the planning board. There is no purchase or anything. It's just to accept the road so we can get Chapter 90 money after it's all done. Everything came up to spec. Everything is signed off on the planning board, so everything is all set to go. I don't know why the language is written like this, but it is. But
Okay, so if somebody wants to make an amendment that we just strike the word purchase, we can certainly do that. We would vote on the amendment, and then we'd vote the article as amended. Does somebody want to make that motion? I mean, that amendment?
I make a motion for that amendment / the word purchase.
Okay, do we have a second on that? Any further discussion? All in favor of the amendment to strike the word purchase, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Any further discussion on the article as amended? We'll take a vote. All in favor of Article 8 as amended, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Unanimous.
Unanimous over here as well.
Okay. Article 9, to see if the town will vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen to convey upon such terms and conditions as the Selectmen deem appropriate a permanent conservation restriction of approximately 8 acres of that certain parcel of land owned by the town and identified as Assessor's Lot Number 040-009, with the boundaries of the restricted area to be fixed by the Selectmen, and to authorize the Board of Selectmen or their designee to enter into all agreements and execute any and all instruments as may be necessary on behalf of the town to meet the requirements of General Laws, Chapter 184, Sections 31 through 33, or take any other action relative thereto. Article is submitted by the Finance Director. The Board of Selectmen recommends favorable action. Do we have a motion and a second? Just, if you guys can just step up and just fire off a motion so we can get it going.
Move favorable.
Second.
Thank you. Motion and second. Discussion. Do we want an explanation or, yeah?
Yes, we would like an explanation over here, please.
Okay. Denise, can you do that for us?
Denise Domkowski, Finance Director. So this would allow the community trail to be built. The trail is currently proposed to be built through a turtle habitat. In order to continue to build the trail, we have to mitigate for turtles elsewhere in town. This would take 8 acres of the Strawberry Fields property that is already in turtle protected area and just protected under a conservation restriction. So it's not harming the rest of that property, but it will allow for the protection of turtles in that 8-acre property. And we would need this in order to build the community trail.
Any further discussion? All set? Okay, let's take a vote then on Article 9. All in favor of Article 9, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Majority in here, favor. Denise, what is it next door?
Yep, we have 1 no.
Okay, so majority favorable next door, so it passes majority.
Great.
Okay, Article 10 is about a mile long.
Can I make a motion to dispense with the reading of the article? And
Yes, you
just
may.
summarize it? So motioned?
Do we need a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor of dispensing with the reading of the article, say aye. Opposed, say no. Okay, a majority, yes. So what I want to do is, can somebody give just kind of go through the page and explain what's going on with each of these?
Hold that microphone a little further away. It's getting very high.
Okay. I think Denise was going to explain.
Denise Demkowski, Finance Director. So this article is the same article being presented in all three towns tonight to amend the existing Pentucket Regional School District Agreement. Basically, all this does is allowing for a contingency plan should there be an emergency to the Pentucket schools that the agreement currently doesn't cover. If you flip through the article, the changes are highlighted and underlined. There's only a handful of them, and again, it all references the school committee being allowed to put in a contingency plan should there be an emergency, and then does require the three towns to hold a town meeting within, I believe, 1 year to make permanent any changes. For instance, if the high school is condemned and they have to shuffle the students around, this would allow the school committee to make those decisions until the three towns could actually vote and ratify that.
Okay, I just realized I don't think I asked for a motion under this, but so we have a motion and a second under Article 10.
Move favorable.
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? All set? All right. All in favor of Article 10, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. It's unanimous in here. It's unanimous next door. Article 11, to see if the town will vote to add Section 2-26, voting to Chapter 2, Article 2 of the Town Groveland bylaws, or take any other action relative thereto. 2-26, voting. Voting by town meeting members shall, at the discretion of the moderator, A, utilize electronic voting technology when available, or B, be by a show of hands, or C, be by other means as authorized by the moderator and approved by vote of 2/3 of the town meeting members present and voting, or D, be as hereinafter provided. Upon motion affirmatively voted by 2/3 of the town meeting members present and voting, a vote shall be taken by secret ballot. It says the article was submitted by the Board of Selectmen. It says, note, this would be allow the use of electronic voting technology at town meeting. The Board of Selectmen recommends favorable action. Do we have a motion and a second?
Move favorable.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Do we want an explanation? Any questions? No? Okay. Go ahead.
Mitchell Croner, 3 Cannon Hill Road Extension. Does this authorize the purchase of electronic technology, and what would be the anticipated cost? Like tonight we have, I don't know, 400 people, so what would it cost to have 400 devices? Thank you.
Go ahead.
So this does not authorize the purchase. This just authorizes the method. So should this pass, then we will explore the possibility of bringing it in with the cost at a later date. This just allows that first step to explore it.
Any further discussion? Okay, we're going to take a vote. All in favor of Article 11, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. No. Majority in here.
Majority in here.
Majority in next door. Passes. Article 12.
Can I make a motion to dispense with the reading of the article as it's quite long?
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor of dispensing with the reading of Article 12, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Unanimous. So let's just, how can we do this? Can somebody summarize what's going on here, and then we'll give people a chance to look through it too? Can somebody speak to this?
So this is a requirement under the EPA's MS4 stormwater permit. It was actually required to be in place as of 2008, and we have not put it on our books. This outlines what may be put down the stormwater regarding illicit discharges, contaminants, et cetera. It really doesn't change anything with the exception of something that we've been having an issue with this past year, which is sump pumps and basements pumping out into the public roadway. It has caused a hazard in several areas in town. This actually would prohibit it if it becomes a public safety issue. Otherwise, it's really just the basics of spills and contaminants and oils and what may or may not go down the stormwater system.
Would we like to take a minute or two to read it? All speed readers out there? Okay. Again, I didn't ask for a motion, I don't believe. So do we have a motion and a second under this article?
Move favorable.
Second.
All right. Is there any further discussion? Take a vote on Article 12. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, say no. Unanimous in here. It's unanimous next door. Article 14, see if the town will vote to appropriate a sum of up to 20... Oops, I'm sorry. Yep. Just seeing if you're playing along. Article 13, to see if the town will vote to appropriate a sum of up to $20,000 from the Community Preservation Community Housing Reserve FY 2019 to be made available for the purpose of preparing an implementation plan to create and or construct community affordable housing for the town of Groveland to be managed by the Groveland Town Planner and the Town Finance Director under the CPA category of community housing and be completed no later than June 30th, 2022, or take any action relative thereto. Article is submitted by the Community Preservation Committee. It says, note, this project is to develop a plan to utilize CPA community housing funds and other affordable housing set-asides to make Groveland affordable and help residents stay in their community. Currently, only 3.3% of the total year-round housing units in town are deemed affordable by the Department of Housing and Community Development. The Board of Selectmen recommends favorable action. The Finance Board recommends favorable action. The Community Preservation Committee recommends favorable action. Do we have a motion and a second?
Move with favorable action.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second for favorable action. Any discussion? Go ahead.
Mike Dempsey, excuse me, for the Community Preservation Committee. Articles 13 through 20 tonight include 7 Community Preservation Act projects, and, yes, sorry. Losing my voice here. Yes. The Community Preservation Committee asks your support for all 7 projects this year. All use CPA funds matched by the state, and they don't cost the town any additional tax dollars tonight. So these are all taken out of revenue that has already been collected.
Thank you. Excuse me. Any further discussion? We're going to take a vote. All in favor of Article 13, say aye. Opposed, say no. Majority passes in here. Denise, next door.
Yeah, I'm counting.
Okay.
Majority is yes.
Okay, it passes in both rooms by majority. Excuse me. Article 14, to see if the town will vote to appropriate a sum of up to $26,000 from the CPA Reserve FY 2019 to be made available for the purposes of American for Disabilities Act compliance at VC Park. The project is to be managed by the Conservation Commission and the Town Finance Director under the CPA category of Historic Preservation and be completed no later than June 30th, 2022, or take any action relative thereto. Again, submitted by the Community Preservation Committee. It says, note, the project would provide labor and materials towards making VC Memorial Park 90% compliant with the Americans for Disabilities Act. This historic town-owned property serves as a community event facility and a conservation park for Groveland and the surrounding area. It is a major passive recreation facility for hiking, fishing, sledding, and biking. The improvements will provide safer access to the facility for public protected by the ADA. The remaining 10% of projects costing over $200,000 will be covered by pursuing a state grant. The Board of Selectmen recommends favorable action. The Finance Board recommends favorable action. The Community Preservation Committee recommends favorable action. Do we have a motion and a second?
Move favorable.
Second.
All right, motion and a second for favorable. Any discussion? We'll take a vote. All in favor of Article 14, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. It's unanimous in here. And unanimous next door. Article 15, to see if the town will vote to appropriate a sum of up to $23,000 from the Community Preservation Fund's Historic Reserve FY 2019 to be made available for the purpose of exterior painting of Washington Hall. The project is to be managed by the town finance director and the Groveland Historical Society under the CPA category of historic preservation and be completed no later than June 30th, 2022, or take any action relative thereto. Article submitted by the Community Preservation Committee. Note the project would provide funds to paint the exterior of a historic building, Washington Hall, to preserve and protect the building. The Board of Selectmen recommends favorable action. The Finance Board recommends favorable action. Community Preservation Committee recommends favorable action. Do we have a motion and a second?
Move favorable action.
Second.
Any discussion? Go ahead and. Yeah, you know what? Again, I appreciate you just standing up yelling, but you got to go to the mic so people next door can hear.
Justin Gordon, One
Thank
Wolf
you.
Drive. 23 grand seems a lot for a paint job. Can someone explain?
Who's? Can somebody explain that for us?
Mike Dempsey, again, sorry for the loss of voice. The building is a large building. It's a historic building, and the article provides up to that amount, so certainly we'll be getting 3 quotes. We have to get 3 quotes for that anyway, and we'll be choosing the lowest price that we can get it for.
Further discussion? Let's take a vote. All in favor of Article 15, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Majority in this room, yes. Majority, yes, next door, so it passes. Article 16, to see if the town will vote to appropriate a sum of up to $70,000 from the CPA Fund's General Reserve FY 2019 to be made available for Phase 2 improvements to the Pines Recreation Area, including hydro seeding, new fields, guardrails, and a replacement pavilion roof. The project is to be managed by the Town Finance Director and the Groveland Recreation Committee under the CPA category of recreation and be completed no later than June 30th, 2022, or take any other action relative thereto. It says the article is submitted by the Community Preservation Committee. And then the note, I guess you can read that. It talks about improvements. The Board of Selectmen recommends favorable action. The Finance Board recommends favorable action. The Community Preservation Committee recommends favorable action. Do we have a motion and a second?
Move favorable.
Second.
Any discussion? Yep, just step to the mic, please, and state your name.
Yeah, Jay Condon, 2 Berrywood Lane. I got a question. We hydroseeded these fields last spring. We still have a well with no pump last time I checked. Why are we hydroseeding them again and throwing money away? That's it.
Can somebody answer the question for us?
So this article came from the Recreation Committee to Community Preservation. I'm not sure what this entails, if they're talking about the new field or if they're talking about the front area. I honestly don't know.
All right, because I got a volunteer that had offered to seed the fields for free, so probably save us a little money. I know the email was sent to you guys. He was told he's got to stay off the fields, so.
Okay.
No, he actually seeded last week, so that's not correct.
Go ahead and please state your name.
My name is Sophia Patel. I have some issues with the hydroseeding. Is it going to be non-GMO? What kind of disruption is it going to do to the wildlife? When they took out that hill a few years ago, many of us were inundated with Norwegian rats because nobody did their work. It disrupted the fox population and other predators as well as birds. And now you want to do hydroseeding with probably GMO chemicals because most of hydroseeding is exactly that. What guarantees do you have this will not be a GMO project? What guarantees do you have against disruption of wildlife and the necessary predators that maintain the river rats?
Thank you. Again, if anybody wants to respond to that, just step forward. But go ahead.
Again, I don't really know the actual project, but to answer to you, You can do hydroseeding with paper mache. It's the green cellulose newspaper. Or they don't only have to do the hydroseeding, they can do straw blowing. They can blow it.
It's not the matter, it's the actual seeds that are disruptive to genetic bases of the animal population and other things. The last project, I was told there was no research whatsoever as to what the effect of taking that hill out of the Groveland Gold, which is what that sand is called. There was no research as to what the effect would be at disruption of that many animal habitats. Are we going to go through the same thing of, yes, we want to do this for the sports kids, we want to do this for everybody, but we don't take into consideration the environmental damage or environmental displacement that's going to take place?
I can't answer that, but I can say the field they're talking about, I believe is a utility field. It's been done, it's been graded, and I do believe that it needs to be seeded because they haven't finished the project. And to speak to someone else's about the well,
But is the seeding
Please,
GMO?
not back and forth, please, one at a time.
as far as I know, that we have discussed the pump and the sprinkler system going in that field, and I do believe it's being worked on through the town, the Board of Selectmen, and it's moving forward.
Any further discussion? Okay, go ahead.
Patrick Mullis, 42 Groveland Commons Way. I live right next door to that park, and you know, I go down there after games and things like that. And there's just stuff everywhere. People leave, probably good belongings and stuff like that. And there's a guy who works down there. His name is Mark, and he's a real dedicated guy. I don't know his last name. I've seen him down there a couple times doing work on his off time, actually on a date with his girlfriend. And like I said, I'm right next door to the park. I love to go down there. I don't mind picking up after the people, and I don't mind, going down there every morning, checking on the seeds, if it's whatever it is, if it's any kind of bagged seed, or you just got to watch it and water it, and it just stays too dry over there. There's no way of getting watered or anything, and I can't hear what they were saying over there, but I second that other guy. I'll volunteer to help grow the grass over there.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Further discussion? Okay, we're going to take a vote. All in favor of Article 16, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. We'll try one more time. All in favor of Article 16, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. No. It's a majority yes in this room. Hang on, we'll see what it is next door. Majority yes next door also, so it passes. Okay, folks, let's keep rolling. Article 17, to see if the town will vote to appropriate a sum of up to $10,000 from the CPA Fund's Open Space Reserve FY 2019, and a sum of up to $20,000 from the Community Preservation Fund's General Reserve FY 2019 to be made available for open space and recreational trails preservation, including development of trails and preservation pilot projects at several conservation and open space properties in town. The project is to be managed by the Conservation Commission and the Town Finance Director under the CPA categories of open space and recreation, and be completed no later than June 30th, 2022, or take any action relative thereto. Again, article submitted by the Community Preservation Committee. And again, let's read the note. It says we'll fund a 3-year partnership building trails. So just take a peek at that as we move on here. The Board of Selectmen recommends favorable action. The Finance Board recommends favorable action. The Community Preservation Committee recommends favorable action. We have a motion and a second.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Discussion. No discussion? Okay. All in favor of Article 17, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Unanimous. Passes. Oh, sorry. Unanimous next door. Article 18, to see if the town vote to appropriate a sum of up to $55,000 from the Community Preservation Fund's General Reserve FY 2019 to be made available for the purchase and installation of a new playground at the Pines Recreation Area. The project is to be managed by the Town Finance Director and the Groveland Recreation Committee under the CPA category of recreation and be completed no later than June 30th, 2022, or take any action relative thereto. Again, article submitted by the Community Preservation Committee. Again, we can read here about the design and what's going on. The Board of Selectmen recommend favorable action, and then we have the Finance Board has a recommendation for a motion.
Yes, do you want me to read
Yes,
it
go
with
ahead.
the, okay, we
With the
have
motion.
one small change, and I'll just read the article and note where the change is.
Just say I, Kathy Kessler's move.
Oh, okay, I, Kathleen Castellanos, move to see if the town will vote to appropriate a sum of up to $155,000 from the Community Preservation Fund's General Reserve FY 2019 to be made available for the purchase and installation of a new, fully ADA-compliant playground at the Pines Recreation Area. The project is to be managed by the Town Finance Director and the Groveland Recreation Committee under the CPA category of recreation and be completed no later than June 30th, 2022, or take any other action relative thereto.
Thanks. So that's a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. So as you can see, the only difference is the bold, fully ADA compliant as per the Architectural Access Board. So we have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? All right, let's take a vote. All in favor of the motion under Article 18, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. It is unanimous. Unanimous next door. Okay. I wouldn't mind if I didn't have to read the next one. Article 19.
Move to dispense with the reading of the article.
Second.
All in favor of dispensing with the reading? Opposed, say no. Okay, let's just take a minute for you all to read it, and then we'll go ahead and take a vote. So just ask for the motion and you'll make that in a second. Okay, so we have a motion. Go ahead and under this article.
Okay, the Finance Board moves favorable action with a friendly amendment to change the date from June 30th, 2022 to June 30th, 2020, which gives this article a one-year lifespan to come together, and we ask if Mike Dempsey would accept that friendly amendment to the article.
I see him nodding his head affirmatively. So we have that motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Do we have any discussion? Okay, let's take a vote under the motion. All in favor of Article 19, as moved, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. A majority in this room? Yes. A majority next door, so it passes. Okay, Article 20, to see if the town will vote to appropriate or reserve from Community Preservation Fund fiscal year 2020 estimated annual revenues the amounts recommended by the Community Preservation Committee for the committee administrative expenses, debt service, community preservation projects, and other expenses, with each item to be considered a separate appropriation. Here you can see the purposes and the recommended amounts. It says the article was submitted by the Community Preservation Committee. The Board of Selectmen recommends favorable action. The Finance Board recommends favorable action. The Community Preservation Committee recommends favorable action. Do we have a motion and a second?
Motion move favorable.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, we'll take a vote. All in favor of Article 20, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Majority passes in this room. Majority passes next door. All right, Article 21, to see if the town will vote to transfer $44,408 from the FY 2018 town free cash to fund the FY 20 capital improvement plan as identified below, or take any other action relative thereto. Looks like we're moving money, it says, to replace a line cruiser for the police department, including all costs incidental and related thereto. Again, we see the total there. It says it was submitted by the Board of Selectmen acting as the Capital Improvement Committee. Note the above projects were recommended for funding the FY 2020 by the Capital Improvement Committee. Again, you can refer to the Appendix A for the complete 5-year CIC report. The Board of Selectmen recommends favorable action. The Finance Board recommends favorable action. Do we have a motion and a second?
Move favorable action.
Motion and second for favorable action. Any discussion? All right, seeing none, we'll take a vote. All in favor of Article 21, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. It's unanimous in here. Unanimous next door. All right. Article 22. So, hang on just a second. All right, we decided to skip this one. So I was just asking because you could see about a third of the way down it says motion to be made. So whoever's making that motion needs to actually, I guess, read that motion. Do we have somebody from that? Can you read it? I mean, but is it, hang on just a second. So I could even read it.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I guess I can read it. I'm sorry. So under Article 22, there's a motion to be made. It says that the town approves the appropriation and borrowing authorized by the Pentucket Regional School District of $146,332,328 for the purpose of the construction of a new middle/high school to be located at 24 Main Street, West Newbury, including the payment of all costs incidental or related thereto. The project, which school facility shall have an anticipated useful life as an educational facility for the instruction of school children of at least 50 years, for which the district may be eligible for a school construction grant from the Massachusetts School Building Authority, MSBA, said amount to be expended at the discretion of the school committee, that the town acknowledges that the MSBA's grant program is a non-entitlement discretionary program based on need as determined by the MSBA, and any project costs the district incurs in excess of any grant approved by and received from the MSBA shall be the sole responsibility of the district and its member municipalities. Provided further that any grant that the district may receive from the MSBA shall not exceed the lesser of 1, 57 and 63/100% of eligible approved project costs as determined by the MSBA, or 2, the total maximum grant amount determined by the MSBA. Provided that the approval of the district's borrowing by this vote shall be subject to and contingent upon an affirmative vote of the town to exempt its allocable share of the amounts required for the payment of interest and principal on said borrowing from the limitations on taxes imposed by Mass General Laws, Chapter 59, Section 21C, Prop 2.5, and that the amount of borrowing authorized pursuant to this vote shall be reduced by any grant amount set forth in the project funding agreement that may be executed between the district and the MSBA. Any premium received upon the sale of any bonds or notes approved by the vote, less any such premium applied to the payment of costs approved by the vote in accordance with Chapter 44, Section 20 of the general laws, thereby reducing the amount authorized to borrow to pay such costs by a like amount. So that is a motion. We'll need a second on that.
Second.
The Board of Selectmen recommends favorable action. The Finance Board recommends favorable action. So we have a motion and a second for favorable action. I imagine we might have a little discussion. Anyone like to speak? Just step forward to the mic. All right, we got someone coming. Yeah, just step to the mic, please.
Justin Gordon, Wharf Drive. I've come to understand that the school is in pretty rough shape over there, but I'm kind of wondering why it got in such disrepair over the years. With 3 towns having 3 building inspectors, why hasn't this thing been checked out for all this time for some of the repairs it needs, roofing, wiring, all these kind of things? I'm wondering why is it such disrepair over all these years, and why are we going to give more money to the same people who let it get this bad?
Okay, I'm sure we can get somebody to answer that. Do we have any other discussion while we're waiting for somebody to answer that for us? Go ahead.
Again, Sophia Patel. I have lived both in West Newbury as well as here in Groveland now. Several things bother me about this project and how it's been thought out. One thing that bothers me is that although it says here 50-something%, it's actually going to be less than 30% because not all of the project is going to get funding. The other thing that bothers me is recently it was stated that the same people who have been maintaining the school and in charge of repairs have also been on the community development for a new school for the last 5 years, and that repairs were not being done in anticipation of getting a new school. I think before we can move farther, we need accountability. And it's not all West Newbury's fault. It's also the fault of Groveland. It's also the fault of Merrimack. That we need a committee of parents and residents who do not have children to monitor what is going on at these schools, why they were not repaired. Some of those repairs would have prevented the disasters that are currently taking place. As an ex-teacher, I can tell you there's nothing more important than education, but you cannot bankrupt the towns. If you increase the tax rate to the point that nobody wants to move here, you're not going to have children. Already the United States Census anticipates a 16% reduction in the number of children here. There are no longer baby boomers to have more children or to support taxes. You have a group coming up now that was decimated in 2008 with their retirement plans, trying to put kids through college. You have to look at what your potential tax base is and what the effect is going to be on housing. You don't have affordable housing here that's going to make people with families move here. There's a lot of more thought that needs to go into this project, a lot more thought of how it's going to be maintained, how it's going to be furnished, how the technology is going to be kept up to date. At this point, people are throwing it down everybody's throat saying you're going to have the schools condemned. Well, maybe all three towns should have been watching what was going on, and the residents should have been taking active participation and making sure that these buildings had been maintained. Thank you.
Yep, thank you. We have a couple of questions about repairs and all. Maybe I know our superintendent is here. Before we get to that point, I guess go ahead.
That's what I was going to ask. Basically, we're fortunate enough to have the superintendent of schools with us this evening. Although he's not a resident of town, I believe town meeting can vote to allow him to speak.
Right, he can.
I think we should take that vote.
Yes. So does that need to be an emotion? Okay. So that's what I guess we don't need to make a motion. Is it okay with everyone if our superintendent of schools, Justin Bartholomew, speaks and answers questions? Yes. Anyone that doesn't like that idea? Okay.
Well, thank you for the resounding yes. That means a lot. So just a couple of things. First, on the price of this, I think you all know this has been a long journey. It's not been something that's been quick thrown together. This started 20 years ago. This building project came up in 1999. Merrimack was going to be the property. That passed in 2 towns, did not pass in the 3rd, so it did not move forward. Over the past 20 years, that building has not gotten younger. The problems that existed back then have been compounded by age and deterioration. Just this year, we've had several water mains breaking. Those same water mains that were put in 1954 are the ones that are there now. They caused the 4 modular classrooms out in front of the high school to be torn down. They were flooded 3 different occasions. The cost of this project, I cannot predict the future. I believe that things tend to go up in cost rather than down. In this instance, we are fortunate to have a partnership with the MSBA. We've not had a partnership opportunity with the MSBA for 20 years, and we've tried numerous times to have a partnership. The $52.7 million grant is the minimum we'll get for this from the MSBA. Just over $54 million is the maximum grant. When we talk about reimbursement rate, that 38%, so that 38, I think it's about 38% of the total cost of the project is what that 52.7, you can do the math, 146.3 and what 52.7 of that is. But that's 52.7 of it is of the 57.63% is of eligible costs. The costs that are eligible from the scope of the MSBA. And there are costs that are not going to be qualified, they're ineligible. And there's other costs that are eligible, but we only get reimbursement of 7%. The grounds, for example. the fields, athletic fields, but even just a prep of the grounds for grading purposes, that only gets reimbursed at 7%. We take on 93% of that. Overall, the cost of the building itself, that's very close to 50%, because we are well within what the MSBA is looking for the eligible costs. As a whole, though, if you got that sheet when you come in, if you've not seen any of the presentations, there's numerous presentations. We've, of course, gone around and done a lot of presentations. What we talk about is over the last 4 years, there's been hundreds and hundreds of people who have participated in visioning sessions. We have building committee folks. I know we have Mr. O'Neill, Ms. Dombrowski. I saw Kim Jackson here earlier, who've been working on this building committee. But visioning session included votes from all towns, people giving their input about what they wanted to see. And what folks wanted to see was a modern school building. Justin, just hold it a little further away. Oh, sorry. Yeah, that's okay. Sorry, it's the loud, booming voice. That's the teaching voice coming through. But what folks wanted to see was a 21st century building, because we cannot predict how teaching and learning is going to take place 10 years from now. Right now, what we know for certain, if you did a walkthrough of that building, is that the classroom I was a student in, the classroom I taught in at the high school, is the exact same classroom that was built for learning and teaching in 1956. And that's not how education is delivered at this point in time. And not only is it not how education is delivered, it's also not how the state will allow a science classroom to be designed at this point. So the infrastructure is actually, if you did any of the walkthroughs, if you watched the videos, that's one of the biggest reasons why we're at this point. The issues of failing, I can't speak to 30 years ago. I mean, 30 years ago, I was a student in the Pawtucket District. I was a Groveland resident. What I know is that 30 years ago, if there was a problem with plumbing, you called a plumber, they came and fixed it. We did not have anybody in the district that had the knowledge of what was going on in the full scope of the infrastructure of the building. You had custodians who cared a tremendous amount about their buildings and took care of the buildings to the best of their abilities. So now here we are, 11 years ago or 10 years ago, we brought on a facilities director. That position has saved us a tremendous amount of money. It saved money in Groveland, West Newbury, and Merrimack, because those folks have an understanding of all the intricacies of the infrastructure in all the buildings, and they have been putting on Band-Aid after Band-Aid and digging hole after hole. Every year, we're abating asbestos in all the schools, and as I like to say, if you were an investor in the 1950s, you wanted to invest in asbestos, because that's pretty much what a big chunk of the high school is comprised of in terms of the floors and the wall and the lab counters. So it's a building that has served us extremely well. I think many of us here tonight are alumni. We had a tremendous educational experience. Our children that are going there still have a tremendous educational experience. But I will tell you, having come out of North Carolina and having traveled around to different schools here to look at what 7 to 12 buildings look like, our kids are at a big disadvantage when it comes to maximizing their educational opportunities. And the question is, how much longer is this building going to last? We cannot go in, if we wanted to, and repair it to the extent it needs to be repaired to hold on for another 10 years. That can't happen. We'll exceed a $3.6 million threshold, and then we'll have to do an entire building. If we have to do the entire building, that's going to come back on, just for the high school, it'd be about $73.2 million. That's in July 2018 money. That's an estimate. And the middle school is just over $40 million. 100% of that comes out of the taxpayers' pockets. There's no support there from the MSBA. So also, if anybody has any other questions, I don't know if you have to vote on this, but I have all sorts of experts here tonight. Of course, we have Josh Hagan from Doran Whittier's here. We have Steve Theron. He's the owner's project manager who represents both Pentucket and the MSBA. And of course, you just heard from Greg LeBrecq, who was Groveland resident, nice enough to recognize me to take the mic. Although you may not ever want me to take the mic again after tonight.
All right. Thank you.
Sure.
Further discussion?
Please.
Good evening. My name is Karen Letourneau, 6 Bear Hill Road. I've been a resident for 35 years. I was on the school committee 20 years ago when we tried to do this the first time. And a lot of people put in a lot of very hard work, and it was extremely disappointing that we failed to do the right thing that time around. So I urge you, we have another opportunity to do the right thing for our towns, for our students. My husband and I are semi-retired, but we understand the importance of education, and these buildings cannot be repaired anymore. They need to be replaced. So this is what we do in this country. This is what we do in small town America. We make the hard decisions to spend the money to do the right thing. So let's not fail this time, residents. Thank you.
All right. Any further discussion?
Just a quick comment to the,
just
to the gentleman.
just state your name.
Bill O'Neill, 45 Elm Park. I know we always look for something or someone to blame. The simple fact is there's just no one to blame. Things wear out. Nobody here drives a 1957 automobile as their everyday car, and there's a reason for that, because things wear out and we stop wanting to throw good money after bad. And that's what we're trying to not do here, throw good money after bad. So I urge you to invest in your future, invest in your community's future, and pass this with a resounding yes.
All right. Any further discussion?
To the superintendent's experts, was there any analysis done of comparing a new building versus rehabbing the old one?
A ton. Absolute 3.5 years of crunching numbers. We looked at every possible scenario known to man. We crunched numbers. We looked at repairing. We looked at renovation. There wasn't one single thing that MSBA would let us take off the table before we came to this one conclusion that seemed to be the choice of the three towns. So there was nothing that wasn't discussed, not a thing.
Okay, any further discussion? We're going to take a vote. We're going to take a voice vote to begin with, and then if there's any question, we'll take a hand vote. All in favor of of Article 22, the motion that was read and seconded, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. I'd say that's a majority in this room. Just hang on for a second. Denise, what was it next door?
I think we got enough votes to finish.
It was unanimous next door. So it's...
Don't get too
All right.
excited. We still need to.
Again, I know a lot of people came just for that article, but please stay. I promise you, we'll roll right through these things, get them done, and nothing is official until the meeting is over. So Article 23, to see if the town will vote to accept the sum of $35,000 from the Groveland Municipal Electric Department operation account to town estimated receipts to reduce the tax rate for the fiscal year ending June 30, 2020, or take any other action relative thereto. Article submitted by Finance Director. The Board of Selectmen recommends favorable action. The Finance Board recommends favorable action. We have motion and second.
Move favorable.
Motion and second favorable action. Any discussion? All right, we'll take a vote. All in favor of Article 23, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Unanimous here. Unanimous next door. Article 24, to see if the town will vote to transfer the sum of $13,300 from the Conservation Commission fees account. You can read the numbers there. The Conservation Commission salary part-time account for fiscal year 2020. Again, the line item there. For the purposes of funding the conservation agent or take any other action relative thereto. Article submitted by the Conservation Commission. You can see it's a transfer of fees to the salary account. The Board of Selectmen recommends favorable action. The Finance Board recommends favorable action. Do we have a motion and second?
Move with favorable.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? Okay, we'll take a vote. All in favor of Article 24, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Majority in this room, yes. Unanimous next door, so it passes. Article 25, to see if the town will vote to transfer the sum of $1,670 from the Conservation Commission fees account. Again, you can see the line item to the Conservation Commission expense account for fiscal year 2020. Again, the line item for the purposes of costs related to commission operating costs or take any other action relative thereto. Article submitted by the Conservation Commission. Again, it's a transfer of funds. The Board of Selectmen recommends favorable action. The Finance Board recommends favorable action. We have a motion and a second.
Move favorable action.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, we'll take a vote. All in favor of Article 25, say aye. Opposed, say no. Unanimous in this room. Unanimous next door. Article 26, to see if the town will vote pursuant to the provisions of General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 53E and a half, to amend the spending limits for the following 7 revolving accounts established in the general bylaws for the fiscal year 2020 as follows, or take any other action, take any action relative thereto. So there's a list of revolving funds in column A. They're changing the limits. Is that what it is to in column C? The reports on the revolving funds may be found in Appendix B. The Board of Selectmen recommends favorable action. The Finance Board recommends favorable action. Do we have a motion and a second?
Move favorable action.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, we have a motion and a second for favorable action. All in favor of Article 26, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Oh, sorry. I'm going to back up a second. Somebody's going to come over and ask a question. I guess I can read the question. It said they want to know what the $250,000 for the Bagnell Summer Program is used for. Can somebody answer that for us?
That is what the revolving account is set for, so that they can take in as much money basically to offset the expenses. This is a money maker for the town every single year. It's a great benefit for the parents and for the kids, and we wanted to make sure the ceiling was increased enough to allow as many children as could participate in the program as that wanted to.
Oh, yeah. All right, any other questions, further discussion? Oh, I think people are just waving. So all in favor of Article 26, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Did I hear a no? No? Unanimous in this room. Majority yes next door, so it passes. Article 27, to see if the town raise and appropriate. Is this the one we're...
Yes, I want to make the motion.
You know what, I'll read it and just... Yeah, actually, we have a motion on Article 27, so go ahead, Kathy, and let's make that motion.
So I, Kathleen Castronellis, move to see if the town will raise and appropriate the sum of up to $1,700 to replace the rotting library sign at the Town Hall campus. The project is to be managed by the library trustees, the library director, and the finance director, and be completed no later than June 30th, 2020, or take any action relative thereto.
All right, so that's a motion. Do we have a second under that? Let me say second. Okay. We have a motion and a second. It says the article was submitted by citizens petition certified on February 26, 2019. The Board of Selectmen recommends unfavorable action. The Finance Board recommends favorable action on that motion. And as you saw, the motion that was just made struck the words or transfer from available funds. And as I understand, it's because you cannot have two different methods of funding an article. So that just changes it to raise and appropriate. Having said that, any discussion?
Lee Thomas, 4 Baldwin Terrace. I'm the chair of the Library Board of Trustees. Would it be possible for the director of the library to speak? She's not from the town.
Is it okay if the director of the library speaks?
Yes.
Yes. Anyone who doesn't want her to speak? Okay.
The director is, if you haven't been to the library, you've missed a treat. This is Darcy Lepore.
Hi, everybody. Oh, okay. I don't know if that was too loud. I'm Darcy Lepore. For anybody who doesn't know me, I'm the library director. So I just want to say the citizens petition wasn't submitted by the trustees to benefit themselves. They submitted it to benefit the community and the taxpayers. And and everybody at the library wants everybody to feel proud of our library and be able to find it. And we really think this would increase our traffic and make the town look good. And I really just think it would be very beneficial for everybody.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Go ahead.
If I could just, in response to the unfavorable action from the Board of Selectmen, the original sign was put up and paid for by the town, so our feeling is that it should be replaced by the town.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Yep, go ahead.
This is
again, just state your name. For the
Ed Watson, Board of Selectmen. This has been going on for a couple of years. If anybody has seen that sign, it was one of the original sign out there. It actually fell down about 3 or 4 weeks ago. I looked at it closely. It completely rotted out. It fell down. It should. It's a wooden sign. What they're looking for is a sign that will match the others on the town hall complex, and and I know that there was talk about the trust funds. Well, the trust funds for the library are earmarked for certain things. It can't just be used for the sign. So we're talking $1,700 to support the library. We just approved $146 million for a school. We're going to be, in another couple of articles, we're going to bring up to support raises for some deserving town employees. We certainly can come up with $1,700 for the sign for the library. It's well-deserved, and it'll match the others. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Okay, let's take a vote. All in favor of Article 27 as moved, without the words transfer from available funds, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. No. Majority, yes. It was unanimous next door. Article 28, to see if the town will vote to transfer the sum of $50,000 from the overlay surplus account for the purpose of funding the town's operating budget for fiscal year 2020, or take any other action relative thereto. Article is submitted by the Finance Director. The Board of Selectmen recommends favorable action. The Finance Board recommends favorable action. We have a motion and a second.
Move with favorable.
And a second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, we'll take a vote. All in favor of Article 28, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. It's unanimous in here, and unanimous next door. Article 29, to see if the town will vote to transfer $85,000 from fiscal year 2018 town free cash for the purpose of funding the town's operating budget for fiscal year 2020, or take any other action relative thereto. The article is submitted by the Board of Selectmen. It says this would cover the costs of the other post-employment benefits FY20 trust fund appropriation. The Board of Selectmen recommends favorable action. The Finance Board recommends favorable action. Do we have a motion and a second?
Motion, move favorable action.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, let's take a vote. All in favor of Article 29, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Unanimous in here. Unanimous next door. Article 30, to see if the town will vote to transfer the $75,000 from the fiscal year 2018 town free cash to the stabilization fund. And you can see the account number there. Or take any other action relative thereto. Article was submitted by the Board of Selectmen. Said this article would add to our rainy day fund and continue to build up our reserves. The Board of Selectmen recommends favorable action. The Finance Board recommends favorable action. We have a motion and a second.
Move favorable action.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, we're going to take a vote. All in favor of Article 30, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Unanimous in here. Unanimous next door. Article 31, to see if the town will vote to transfer $50,000 from the fiscal year 2018 town free cash to the capital stabilization fund. Again, you can see the account number, or take any other action relative thereto. Article is submitted by the Board of Selectmen. Note this article would add to our reserve for capital-related projects or the purchase or acquisition of capital equipment or payment of debt services related thereto. The Board of Selectmen recommends favorable action. The Finance Board recommends favorable action. Motion and second.
Motion, move favorable action.
Second.
Motion is second. Any for favorable action? Any discussion? All right. Again, we'll take a vote. All in favor of Article 31, say aye. Opposed, say no. Unanimous in here. Unanimous next door. Article 32. To see if the town will vote to transfer the sum of $60,000 from fiscal year 2018 town free cash to the MS4 Stormwater Permit account. Again, you see the number for the purpose of funding engineering and consulting services for the development of an application for a National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System, NPDES, MS4 Stormwater Permit, and for implementing the MS4 permit requirements, including all costs incidental and related thereto, or take any other action relative thereto. The article was submitted by the Finance Director. Note, the United States Environmental Protection Agency has released the requirements for National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System compliance. The purpose of this funding is to engage an engineering firm to develop the town's NPDES MS4 permit application. This is year 2 of a 5-year program. The Board of Selectmen recommends favorable action. The Finance Board recommends favorable action. Motion and second.
Move favorable action.
Second.
All right, we have motion and second for favorable action. Any discussion? We have a question. It's coming.
I think she wanted to question on Article 34. We're not there yet.
False alarm. Let's keep moving. No discussion. We'll take a vote on Article 32. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. That's unanimous in here. Unanimous next door. Article 33, to see if the town will vote to transfer $25,000 from the fiscal year 2018 town free cash to the personnel buyback account number, or take any other action relative thereto. The article is submitted by the Finance Director. Note, this article would appropriate funds into the accrued time personnel buyback account. Existing collective bargaining agreements and personnel policy provide a percentage of sick time as a cash buyback upon retirement. The Board of Selectmen recommends favorable action. The Finance Board recommends favorable action. Do we have a motion and a second?
Motion, favorable action.
Second.
A motion and second for favorable action. Any discussion? All right, we're going to take a vote. All in favor of Article 33, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Unanimous in here. Unanimous next door. Article 34, to see if the town will vote to transfer $10,000 from fiscal year 2018 town free cash to purchase 2 new voting machines, including all costs incidental and related thereto, or take any other action relative thereto. Article was submitted by the Finance Director. Note, these funds would be used to purchase 2 new voting machines, as the existing machines will no longer be supported as of 2020. The Board of Selectmen recommends favorable action. The Finance Board recommends favorable action. Do we have a motion and a second?
Move favorable action.
Second?
Second.
All right, motion and second for favorable action. Any discussion? Yeah, go ahead.
Inez Steele, 6 Union Street. Do we know what kind of machines these are and how they process votes?
I think they're chads, hanging chads.
That was
do we have
my
a
concern.
Do we have an answer?
So the existing machines are AccuVotes. The specifications came from the company we're currently using through the town clerk. So I'm assuming they're the same type, but the software in the existing machines will no longer be maintained or supported after next year. So we're required to upgrade the voting machines.
But we don't know what kind of machines or how they're going to tally our votes.
This is not for town meeting, this is for the town election. So similar to the way you're voting now, I'm assuming it's going to be the same type of machine,
But
just an updated.
national elections, all of our elections, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Kind of care. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? All right, let's take a vote. All in favor of Article 34, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. It's unanimous in here. Unanimous next door. Article 35, to see if the town will vote to transfer $55,000 from fiscal year 2018 town free cash to make capital upgrades at Bagnell School or take any other action relative thereto. Article was submitted by the Finance Director. Note, each year the Pentucket Regional School District provides a list of requested capital upgrades at Bagnell School. The town plans to begin a multi-year program to address these requests. The Board of Selectmen recommends favorable action. The Finance Board recommends favorable action. Do we have a motion and a second?
Motion, favorable action.
Second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second for favorable action. Any discussion? Go ahead.
Justin Gordon, Wharf Drive. Are these monies going to help prevent buying a new school in 10 years?
Who wants to answer that question?
Bill O'Neill, 45 Elm Park. We certainly hope so.
All right. Any other discussion? Let's take a vote. All in favor of Article 35, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. It's unanimous in here. Unanimous next door. Article 36, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $1,090,333.45 for the use of the Water Department, said sum to be offset by FY 2020 Water Department revenue, or take any other action relative thereto. So the amount we're going to vote is going to be the Finance Board recommends number on the far right-hand side. So that is the one that ends in 1,089,000. Okay, hang on just a second, because that's less than what they're asking for. Just hang on for a second. Okay, so we have a motion for that amount on the right-hand side.
Okay. So move favorable for is that 1 million? 1,089,226.99.
Just say
Okay.
it one more time.
So 1,089,226.99 as a total, which would include the 2% raises for the non-union employees. And 2% is my understanding also what the union contracts are getting as well.
Do we have a second for that motion?
Second.
All right, so we have a motion and a second for $1,089,226.99. Any discussion? All right, we're going to take a vote. All in favor of that number on the far right there, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. It's unanimous in here. Unanimous next door. Article 37, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum. So this number is, again, a little less.
Yeah.
Why don't we just have our motion under this Article 37? Go ahead, Kathy.
I, Kathleen Castronellis, move for a total amount of $623,135.16. And I need a second.
Second.
Second, so
And the reason, again, is the same as before, that this reflects the 2% raise that is being given across the boards to all non-union employees, and also is in line with the union contracts.
all right, so we have a motion and a second. The Board of Selectmen had recommended favorable action. Do we have any discussion? Okay, we'll take a vote. All in favor of the motion under Article 37, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Unanimous in here. Unanimous next door. Okay, so we're getting, the next article is the omnibus. And what we're going to be doing is, I'm going to read the line items, and the amount that we're going to be voting is the Finance Board recommends all the way on the right-hand side. So I'm going to read the line items, and if anybody wants to talk about that, they yell out hold. We'll make a note, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about those. So Article 38, to see if the town will vote to raise the following sums to defray town charges for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2020, and make appropriations therefore, or take any other action relative thereto. So under general government, moderator, selectmen, finance department, board of assessors, town accountant, board of assessors, town council, technology, town clerk, conservation commission, planning, zoning board of appeals, municipal buildings, insurance, under public safety, police department, parking clerk. Should have said parking clerk. Fire department, Building Department. Emergency Management. Education. Public Works. Tree Warden. Highways. Rubbish Collection. Cemetery. Under Human Services. Board of Health. Council on Aging. Veterans. Library. We have then debt service. Then unclassified. So there were no holds, so I'm going to ask somebody to make a motion under the Finance Board recommends amount of the grant total of $17,418,772. Okay, we have a motion for, that's right. And do we have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Nobody had any holds, but is there any other discussion? No, okay. I love how we can vote $17 million like that. Okay, here we go. So all in favor of Article, I'm sorry, I lost track of the number. 38. Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Unanimous? Unanimous. Next door. Article 39, to see if the town will vote to fix the salary and compensation of all elective and appointed officers of the town for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2020, fixing of salaries according to Articles number 36 to 38 above, or take any other action relative thereto. Article is submitted by the Finance Board. The Board of Selectmen recommends favorable action. The Finance Board recommends favorable action. The motion and second.
Move favorable.
Second.
All in favor of Article, I'm sorry, discussion? All in favor of Article 39, say aye. Opposed, say no. Unanimous here. Okay, under Article 40, to adjourn town meeting and direct those qualified to vote in annual town election to meet in the respective voting precinct, Town Hall, 183 Main Street, Groveland, Mass, on Monday, May 6th, that's next Monday, between the hours of 7 a.m. and 8 p.m. to elect the following town officers and vote on the following 3 ballot questions. So you can see all that's going to be voted on next week. So that is, do we have a motion for favorable action? Second? All in favor of Article 40, say aye. Opposed, say no. It's unanimous here, unanimous next door, and unless I'm mistaken, we are done. So, thank you everyone for coming, and if tonight was your first time coming, it's great to come to all of them. You know, in the fall we struggled to get 100, so it's okay to come again. Thank you. We just did that.